Yo, 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 yo. What's up, friends? It's yappin' time. How is it going? Go on. Yappin' and crappin'. Bedtime for you. I should be going to bed, honestly. I might have to try to bang these stories out quick tonight because I have an appointment in the morning. A dit appointment. Who's your favorite little pony character? Probably fried potatoes. Maybe the Shocker. Is that a character? The Shockster. Just finished homework playing some Ghost Recon. Nice, dude. Wish they'd release another one of those. Colonoscopy appointment. Yeah, it's my 15th one this week. My favorite Care Bear. Probably Squiggly Migs. Probably Lieutenant Gooch. I'm off to bed, but yeah, Joe, could you bang me out? How am I tonight? I'm good, honestly. I spent most of the day literally installing curtain tracks around my, recording space so that I could hang like moving curtains or moving blankets around it to kind of create like a enclosed sound space, Prostate massage appointment. That's Monday. And then Tuesday's the colonoscopy. Wednesdays, somebody's just getting a finger in there, see what's going on. Checking for injuries from the previous 2 days. Okuyasu Nijamura with the 5 says, just turned 21 celebrating with apple wine and this live stream, which Godzilla movie is best. There's a Hondo cut. So Hondo out. Best Godzilla movie. I guess probably the older ones when, versus Mothra. Whenever it was just like, they're sticking to the original, just a guy in a suit and somebody's like toy train set. I feel like that's when they had it all figured out. How is Pradeep? He's good. He's a little confused by this new curtain I built around myself. But I need to honestly figure out like how to really sound dampen everything, because I kind of pulled back from it a little bit and it was like it's not bad, but it's not great. But the cool thing is I can just like retract it when I go into like whatever mode, pull it around me if I'm trying to get into like more professional recording mode. But I don't know if anybody knows anything about like sound stuff. Maybe you can tell me like what's like if I should get one of those like sort of guns that you can point and see like what decibels are, reflecting off of certain areas or whatever, just to see what the flip's going on. You are a tub/shower, aren't you, Joel? Like people can bathe inside of me, or what are you talking about? I had an $400 Godzilla box package of all the older movies not dubbed. Damn. How many were there in the past? I feel like it's too many. A decibel gun, that'd be fancy. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I've never really had to like truly soundproof it, and then I tried to create like a space under my steps, and then it was like so echoey. It was so bad. I should have tested it beforehand. Hey, another Joel K. Thank you and welcome to the Butter Sock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Yeah, I can install a shower in here too. Just wash myself. Do you have ghosts, Slut Street? Sorry, I got to the party later. Not that I am aware of. There's sometimes it sounds like somebody's walking upstairs, but it's always like, it's never like super definitive, you know what I mean? And even though sometimes I get a little creeped out here, I feel like nothing gets too crazy, thank God. Anyone got any tornadoes near them? Thankfully not. It was really bad a couple weeks ago. Joel is an at-home soft serve ice cream maker and fryer mix. I am all these things. I'll read you to sleep and make you some barbecued chicken. Lady Laura, thank you for this. Hey hugs, Joel Paperty from Yashao. Thank you. Onokuyasu Nijamura. Welcome to the Buttersalt Call. You now have access to bonus content. There's some newer stuff here recently as well. Hopefully you can enjoy that. And David De La Rosa with the 1. Thank you, David. Been listening since 2018-19. Love your content. Thanks, dude. Good to see you. We're in a tornado watch for the next 3 days. I live in the deep woods of Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma sounds like they get pounded hard. Sounds not fun. Love to go ghost recording with Joel, then eat soft serve ice cream added protein powder. That sounds perfect. A perfect night. How am I? I'm good though. I am Gucci Malucci. Honestly, I should probably just get right into it, shouldn't I? What do you guys say? Should we just get right into the stories? Is there anything we even want to talk about? Is there anything that we need to address in the world and fix? We're going to fix everything just by talking about it. Been watching Storm Chasers all damn day and we caught one. You finally got one. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. Angelina. Okuyasu Nijim. I can't do it. With the 5 says, on the topic of tornado, I live right next to Rolla, which got fucked up on that last major storm. Was crazy. Yeah, man. Shit's scary. And like just the damage, it lingers forever. It's just not worth living somewhere that could, your whole life could be stripped away from you so fast. Fix your headache, please. Okay, hold on. Ooh. There you go. Should be good now. All right. Let's just get it. Let's just get right to it. You've been transported somewhere else, far, far away. My name's Athena, and I started my home bakery business during the summer of 2020. I was furloughed from my job and the boredom was killing me, so I took up baking as a way of keeping myself occupied. It was definitely a way of managing stress too, because I always made way too much for one person. But then delivering baked goods to family and friends always made for a great excuse to get out and stretch my legs. Whenever they gave me compliments on the things I delivered, I figured they were just being kind and showing gratitude. But when one friend told me that I could potentially earn money by turning my baking into a lockdown side hustle, I got to thinking. And at the time, the kitchen in my apartment was tiny, with the counter barely wide enough for a cutting board, but I made it work. I set up a few social media profiles. Wait, when did we start? We started 10 minutes ago. You're late. You're late! I set up a few social media profiles, uploaded a dozen photos of my best brownies, blondies, and pies, and then asked the right people to share my page for the maximum audience. Part of me believed that there was no way that it would take off, not with all the super fast delivery services that people could use with just a few taps on their phone. But I was wrong, majorly wrong, and I discovered that in a world of faceless online middlemen offering discounted merchandise made half the world away, there was a huge demand for locally baked bread, cakes, pies, and pastries. The first week was slow, but promising. Oh, okay. Yeah, what do we do to people when they're late? What should we do? Do I start before 12 a.m.? I know, right? Wait, I said uploaded? No way. Oh, it doesn't photos. It doesn't photos of baked goods. You can just 3D print the baked goods now. Mark them retardy. The first week was slow but promising, and the easy scheduling helped me figure out the best methods of running my kitchen. But then over the week that followed, word of mouth and grassroots advertising resulted in my orders doubling, then tripling, then almost quadrupling over the course of 8 very productive days. And by week 3, I was having to place potential customers on a waiting list because my whole schedule was filled with either prep, proofing, or baking. And I'd gone from bored out of my mind to barely having a minute to myself. But busy hands meant happy hands, especially one that extra cash. But busy hands meant happy hands, especially once all that extra cash landed in my pocket. I liked making the extra cash, and I liked having something to keep me from going crazy. But I quickly realized that I loved baking and running my own business more than anything I'd ever done before. Each and every day, my apartment was filled with the warm, yeasty scent of rising dough, baking bread, or caramelized sugar. Then, unlike my job in corporate, I got to see the results of my hard work right there in front of me, while the enthusiasm of my customers exhibited. X to the Z exhibited. Yeasty scent of, oh my god, that's funny. Then, unlike my job in corporate, I got to see the results of my hard work right there in front of me, while the enthusiasm my customers exhibited was satisfying in ways that I never thought possible. 2 months in, I did a little calculating and realized if I worked on a 6-day schedule and raised my prices by just a small percentage, I could actually quit my job and bake full-time. Well, long story short, that's what I did, and for just over a year following, I was happier and more fulfilled than I'd ever been in my entire life. But then, right when everything was going smoothly for the first time in a long time, the fire came. It was the middle of the night in October of 2021, and I was dreaming of sourdough starters I had bubbling on my counter when the fire alarm suddenly woke me up. I fumbled for my phone just as I smelled burning, and then seconds later, I saw black smoke curling under my apartment's front door. I grabbed my shoes out of instinct, but I was so scared that I didn't bother putting them on. I ran barefoot into the smoky hallway and then stumbled out onto the street, coughing as flames licked up the side of the building. And by morning, the section of the building containing my apartment was just charred ruin, with blackened beams jutting from scorched brick. Jesus fuck, what is this writing? Spirit animal. It is interesting, like, having these curtains all around me because it's, like, just completely dark. It's kind of fascinating. I do kind of feel like maybe I should get some, like, really, really heavy blankets or something to just, like, completely absorb anything, you know what I mean? Or maybe I could, like, double up on, like, the sound curtains. I don't know. Are they plastic curtains and do they stick on you? I don't get it. What do you mean? Egg cartons. Yeah, I guess I could like staple egg cartons to them and kind of, or like, you know, have them stick onto it. that would definitely absorb quite a bit. I just wonder if it's like, would be easier doing something else. If you send me dimensions, I'll make you custom curtains just for you. Okay. Joel, if you could be any cheap airline, which would you be and why is it Spirit? I just want to go to heaven quick, you know? When you attempt to shower and they stick to your skin. I gotta be honest, I've never heard of curtains. Are they shower curtains? You think I'm talking about shower, like I'm surrounded by shower curtains? I guess I did make a joke earlier about it being a big shower. What's up, bird? DJ walls, egg cartons. Okay. Look at that. We know people who have built their own booths and stuff who'd be happy to give you advice, Jessica, probably. Okay, yeah, it'd be cool. Cool to look into. Just some advice. I mean, that's what I'm saying about like the decibel gun. Like maybe if I could determine which areas are actually causing the most like feedback, potentially. But yeah, some sort of advice would be great. By morning, the section of the building containing my apartment was a charred ruin, with blackened beams jutting from scorched brickwork that still dripped with hose water. And everything I owned was gone. My mixer, my baking sheets, my clothes, my books, all burned or soaked beyond saving. And I stood there in the dark of the early morning, clutching my phone and shoes, and wondered, what the hell was I going to do? But as usual, Mom had a solution. She lived in the same split-level house up in Somerville that I'd grown up in, one with faded yellow siding and a well-tended front yard. And the guest room still had my old twin bed, and she told me that I could stay as long as I needed if it meant finding the right apartment. We'd already talked it over, and I'd mentioned how if I found somewhere with a large and well-equipped kitchen, then there was potential for a huge increase in turnover when it came to my baking business. I was grateful for her patience while I rebuilt, so after picking up baking supplies and a few home essentials, I got back to work. Customers didn't care where I baked, so long as the bread was good. They'd pull up to Mom's driveway, I'd hand over their orders, and life kind of limped along. But I couldn't stay forever. I needed a place of my own, somewhere central enough that clients from across the city could reach me, with a kitchen big enough to handle my growing business. And I spent weeks hunting, sitting on my mom's couch, laptop balanced on my knees, scrolling through listings until my eyes literally hurt. Some places were too small and others were just too far out, and a few were perfect but priced beyond my reach. Then one afternoon, as rain was tapping against the living room windows, I found it, a listing for a place on Mount Vernon Street, just north of Boston Common. I knew that area from my teenage years when I had a job slinging pizzas at a joint on Charles Street. Now, Mount Vernon... They're like, please come find me. Mount Vernon Street was elegant and historic, lined with brownstones that glowed red-brown in the sunlight, and some had balconies with curling ironwork and others had wide windows that caught the last of the day's light. I loved it, and it was a major step up, a neighborhood that breathed old wealth and quiet pride, while the listing offered 2 floors, full amenities, and rent that didn't make me flinch. There was, however, a catch, a single line tacked on at the end. Potential tenants must be prepared to follow a strict set of terms and conditions. And I assume it was just standard stuff. No parties, no smoking, maybe a ban on pets, and that was all fine by me. My life was flour, ovens, super early mornings, not late-night chaos, so I called the number just minutes after spotting the listing. A woman answered. Her voice was very polished, and then after confirming I was calling about the apartment, she went into a big explanation. And after introducing herself as Evelyn, she explained that the house belonged to her family, who were looking for a tenant to share with her elderly cousin, Ethel, who had some rare condition that kept her frail and confined. I'd have the first 2 floors to myself, including a kitchen, a living room, and a bedroom, but the 3rd floor, where Ethel lived, apparently was a no-go zone. No knocking, no talking, no stepping foot up there. Break the rules, and I guess I'd be out in the streets. Lease terminated instantly. Evelyn stressed that it wasn't about pettiness or control. It was about preserving Ethel's health and dignity in what little time that she probably had left. And I wouldn't have to look after her. Nurses and assistants came and went for that, and outside of calling in the evening of the... Your local fire department did an upload yesterday saying that they were rolling out purple fire trucks and everyone was mad it was April Fool's joke, and we're on board with it. That's funny. Purple would be cool. I wouldn't mind seeing them jetting around. Oh, Val Kilmer. Yeah, he was popular actor in like the 80s and 90s. I best knew him for his role on Dr. Monroe's Island. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, but he was essentially like a zookeeper on that, or like a security guard on that island. That was kind of like a sleeper movie. Honestly, if that movie was like well over 2.5 hours, I think they could have like really dug into it and like made the world stick out. But because it was like only an hour and a half, it just like went by so fast, and I don't know. Apparently it was just like an absolute nightmare for production or whatever, but I don't know, you know, I liked it. Several police departments around the state start allowing police officers to wear cowboy hats again. Nice. That's funny. Spelling is the island of Dr. Moreau. Oh, right. For anyone who wants to look at it, there you go. Not Monroe, my bad. It's good, though. There's a book. There's a whole book about it. They wrote a book after the movie. Val Kilmer was the Doc Holliday. Yeah, and Batman, true. True. I didn't see those, though. But he was cool, and he was obviously in, like, Top Gun. Pretty badass. He was a hunk and a half, though, for sure. I wouldn't have to look after her. Nurses and assistants came and did that, and outside of calling in the event of an emergency, there was a chance Ethel and I might never cross paths. The setup sounded odd, but I kept hearing run of the house in my head. 2 floors and a prime spot for the price of 1 bedroom. It was just way too good to pass up. I told Evelyn I wanted to see it, and then we set up a time for the next day. When I arrived, the house was even more than I'd pictured it. It loomed on Mount Vernon Street, and its brick facade weathered but very stately, and the kind of place that had seen centuries pass without even blinking. And the front steps were worn smooth, the door this heavy slab of oak complete with a brass knockers. The front steps were worn smooth. The door was a heavy slab of oak complete with a brass knocker shaped like a lion's head. I loved it. And inside, the first floor opened into a wide living room, a fireplace dominating this one wall, its mantel carved with vines that looked older than the city itself, and the rest of the house was just as opulent. But when I saw the kitchen, that's when I fell in love. It was a dream, spacious, with a gas range, a butcher block island, and cabinets that stretched to the ceiling. Upstairs, the second floor had a bedroom with a bay window overlooking the street, plus a small office that I could use for paperwork. Evelyn met me at the door. This very thin woman with a sort of white hair. Evelyn met me at the door. This very thin woman with a flash of white hair and a face etched with very stern lines, and she didn't smile. But she didn't glare either. She let me through the house, her steps very slow, very measured, asking about my plans. And when I mentioned the bakery, her eyes kind of softened and she seemed relieved. I wasn't some looking... Anyone heard of Gene Hackman, Mysterious Death too? Yeah, what was his? He died of something, and then, like, his wife died of some weird disease that you get from rats or something like that. I don't know, it was odd. So much earlier than him, and he had to keep reliving it because of Alzheimer's. Oh, Jesus. That's how bad his Alzheimer's was. I had no idea. Didn't they arrest the daughter for murder? I have no idea. I don't like Tom Cruise, so I only watched it the one time and forgot about it. Red Top. Yeah, I only seen Top Gun, the original, like, more recently. And it felt like almost like a comedy because it was just, like, so, you know, over the top. Especially that, like, volleyball scene where they're just like, yeah, nice spike, and slapping each other in the ass with, like, close-ups and slow motion. Yeah, Top Gun's pretty funny if you ever get a chance to watch it. It's just, like, very just like the epitome of 80s, you know? Everybody's cool, fast cars, fast life. When I mentioned the bakery, her eyes kind of softened and she seemed relieved that I wasn't looking to turn the place into some kind of party house. I signed the lease that afternoon. Evelyn handed me a ring of keys, repeated the rules about Ethel, and then just left. Fuck, dude. I signed the lease that afternoon. Evelyn handed me the keys, repeated the rules about Ethel, and then left me to settle in. The first few weeks were good. Better than good, even, really. God damn it, what the fuck is this? The first few weeks were good. Better than good, even. I had the kitchen set up. My mixer was humming on the island with flour dusting the counters as I worked, and the house was quiet, but I relished that. And sometimes I'd even forget that Ethel was even there at all. I heard her once, maybe 2 weeks in, a wet, rattling cough that drifted down from the third floor, and it kind of startled me, the sound cutting through all that stillness, but I just sort of brushed it off. She was sick, and that's why the rules were there. And after that, I barely thought about her. My business occupied my mind almost constantly, and before long, the house felt like it was all mine. At least until I started to feel sick too. It came on kind of slow, a tiredness that slowly settled into my bones. I'd wake up sluggish with my legs feeling heavy and no amount of coffee seemed to shake it. I blamed the hours, kneading dough at dawn, baking through the afternoon, packing orders late into the night. But even after I scaled back my operation to give myself some rest, it seemed to get worse. I'd end up napping on the couch, the oven timer ticking in the background, but I'd wake up even more exhausted than before. My jeans were starting to loosen around my waist, and my face started looking sharper in the mirror as the weight melted off of me. And I told myself it was stress, the months of grind and stress just catching up with me. But then my hair started to fall out. I'd find clumps of it in the shower, these dark strands clogging the drains, more tangled in my bush. What anime do I recommend? None of them. They're all cringe and annoying. Just don't watch any more anime if you can. Just read old books. Peter Hargrave's been on lately. I haven't seen Peter in a long time. I don't know. Sailor Moon. Yeah, Sailor Moon's good. The outfits are cool. Imagine if they took the money they gave to Scientology, people who needed it. Yeah, I'd be curious. I don't know. I'm always curious exactly like what specifically motivated someone like Tom Cruise and other celebrities to join Scientology. Okuyasu Nijimura with the 2 says, even hit series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I don't know, dude. It's not to put anybody down or whatever, but I made it like half an episode into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and there was something about their joke style, and it's just, I found it, I don't even remember it, to be honest, but I just found it so annoying, and I had to stop. But maybe that's how it goes with that show. Anti-anime, what about Evangelion? Yeah, I didn't make it all the way through that, but that one's, it's about as anime as they come. Yeah, Studio Ghibli's good. You can't go wrong there. I don't know. Anime's strange, man. It's a weird world. It's like, it's weird because it's like you get so damn many of them with like such high quality animations, adult themes, all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, how the fuck does the United States not have like a pipeline of creation that matches that at this point? You know what I mean? It just seems like nobody in the United States can produce animes or anything like anime at all, It takes, how long does it take for fucking our like silly violent superhero shows to like get made? Like Invincible, it's been so fucking long. And then they give you like half seasons for a little bit. Yeah. My entire walls, that's what I put around me, are just inflatable waifus. Hanging on the curtains. If you don't watch anime, go read all the declassified FBI CIA files. Yeah, that sounds fun. Sounds like a great weekend getaway. I think the weirdest thing was like, I don't know if it was actually but it was, I just saw it pop up and it was like some article from like, Ben Shapiro and like the Daily Wire, and they're like, why do we even care who killed JFK? Like, why do we even care? Like, why? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like because the president of the United States was assassinated, and it may or may not secretly be like the intelligence agencies like running the entire country in cahoots with like various other groups like the mob and Israel and all this other you know what I mean? It's just like, maybe that's why we fucking care, you dumb fucking dipshit. It is a very odd thing, like it's like, I don't know, I just can't stand news shit anymore. Especially, I just can't stand the fact that it's always like trying to manipulate your perspective towards something that should be important. Why that's a good thing? You should be eating bugs. That's a good thing. Humans are built to eat bugs. It won't turn us into Gollum at all. Gerald Time Marine, but it's so crazy to read stuff that American government did and lied about for decades. Ben Shapiro's voice sounds like someone stomping glass into his balls. Yeah. Gollum. I'd find clumps in the shower, dark strands clogging the drain, more tangled in my brush each morning. My period stopped coming too, which is kind of TMI, which at first I tried to pin on the same exhaustion excuse, maybe even just me not eating enough. But when a customer called, voice was very tight with anger, saying that they found one of my fingernails in their banana bread, I couldn't ignore that anymore. I looked at my hands. I saw brittle bread. I looked at my hands, saw brittle, yellowing nails and how one was missing entirely, and then felt a cold knot tighten in my chest. And obviously, I went to the doctor the next day. He was some stocky guy with graying hair and a clipboard that he kept scribbling on, and he asked about my diet, my sleeping habits, and what I did for work. But I also made sure to tell him about the fire, the move, and my new home. He kind of was just tapping his pen and said old buildings can sometimes hide things, be it mold in the walls, lead in the pipes, or even arsenic in the green covers of antique books. And he ordered blood work and told me to stay someplace else for a few days if things got any worse. Stay with a relative, he said, or check into a hotel and see if the symptoms fade. I nodded, promised I would, and then left with a slip for the lab. I went back to my mom's that night. She opened the door, took one look at me, and just gasped. "Oh my God, you look terrible," she said. I must have looked skeletal compared to the last time I... Read old books covered in green paint. Are there any other suggestions for similar content? Yeah, I mean, Mr. Nightmare, Mr. Ballin, Swamp Dweller, Unit 522, Darkness Prevails, Dark Somnium, all that, all sorts of people out there, narrators. Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious. Chilling scares, being scared. I must have looked skeletal compared to the last time I'd seen her. I was pale, I had huge bags under my eyes, and my hair looked pretty patchy and dull. I was a far cry from the girl that had put on a little weight thanks to getting sugar high. I was a far cry from the girl that put on a little weight thanks to getting sugar high on her own supply, and I was scared that I'd get worse, but after 3 days of convalescing in her guest room, I felt so much better. The nausea lifted, and when my strength crept back, I called Evelyn and told her I thought something in that house was making me sick. And she expressed her sympathy, but there was this very strangeness to her voice. She reminded me of the lease, how breaking it without proof would mean lawyers and fees. Subletting was an option, and she was more than happy to consider a doctor's opinion, but at the end of the day, we had an agreement. I should have stayed away. I know that now, but I loved that place so much that I talked myself into going back, just for one more night. I'd test it, prove it was the house, and if I felt worse, then I'd know for certain that I needed to leave. I drove back to Mount Vernon Street, and then the moment I stepped inside, the air had this very stale, heavy, with a sort of faint metallic quality that I'd never detected before. I told myself it was some kind of cleaning product Ethel's nurses had used, and now I think I know different. Stale air and chemicals or not, I resigned myself to stay at least one night, and so I set my bag down, started a batch. Oh yeah, booze and booze. Mr. Crazy style freaky reads. You guys heard of him? Oh yeah, Lighthouse Horror. He does creepypastas. You're watching Dr. Pimple Popper. There you go. That's what I need to put in the background of my videos, honestly. 5 minutes till your birthday ends. Nice, dude. What did you do for your B-Day? What scares me the most? I don't know. I guess just like dying alone, probably. Just getting old. And I saw some meme today where it was like, when you're 34, you're actually 27 and you don't realize it. But the second you turn 35, you're actually 50. Nobody tells you this. And that's kind of how I'm feeling. Or like, I feel like for a while I still felt pretty young, and I still do feel young, but I'm like, I'm going to hit 35, and that's about that age whenever people just like, you tell them you're 35 and they're like, what the fuck? This guy's alive still? You're turning 37 in 4 minutes. Nice, dude. I mean, it's not like, it's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's just one of those things where you just, like, I feel like I just have to, like, when I'm out in public, I much more often feel like I need to just, like, fade into the background and be like an NPC, you know what I mean? Like, I am no longer, in my mind, at all a main character. Your greatest fear is isolation in unknown environments, whether it being alone in a forest or a new city. It's terrifying. Even in a city? I feel like both sound kind of nice, like a forest, walking around alone, and a city. Age is a construct. Yeah. See, that's why I'm going to have to just stick to the voice work, so I don't have to worry about getting old. Yeah, I make NPC motions, yeah. I go through my, like, idle animations. Yeah. Oh. I look like what's his name? Not Banjo-Kazooie. Crash Bandicoot. Do an impression from Link from Legend of Zelda. Okay. Hiya! 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 It's like when he does like the roll. Best falling off the cliff impression. Yeah, what is it? Ah! I don't even know if he makes like that loud of a noise. Let me. Ah! It's like, I feel like it's like high pitch. Link falling scream. I don't even remember it. Ah! Yeah, he literally just like lets it yell. Ah! That's funny. Yeah, I probably did scare Pradeep, honestly, especially heading behind this curtain. Oh, me peeking around the curtain is what scared him. Otherwise, he was sleeping through that. I come in a bad time. Oh my god, the voice of Link is pretty funny. Tsubasa with the two says Castro as Link for Legend of Zelda movie. Confirmed, it's happening. God, I'm like terrified that movie's gonna... I mean, what are they even gonna make the movie about? And if they give like Link a voice, is it gonna be Chris Pratt? Like, I don't even know. What's up, guys? It's me, Link. I'm not Italian. And to market the movie, I'm gonna make us look really weird or like have something strange about me. Maybe they'll have him wearing like a bikini in like the trailer, so people are like, "Don't do the bikini. Don't do the bikini." Speaking of Link, any thoughts on Nintendo charging $90 for physical games? Holy shit! When's that start? Oops. When's that start? $90. What? On the Switch 2? What? Dude, if there was ever a console that shouldn't charge $90, is the fucking Nintendo consoles. Like, to me, Nintendo games come off more as like indie titles, you know what I mean? I'm not saying they should charge $15, but for some reason I just feel like they had more respect for their audience to charge $90. If anything, they should be charging $40 per. Like, I would pay. All right, if a new Nintendo game came out, I would expect them to charge $50. But I understand, like, inflation, R&D, all that kind of shit goes into it. But I mean, like, you gotta boiling frog your audience if you want them to like move along with, It's got to be like between each console generation, it's got to be like $5 increase each generation. Not fucking. I remember back in the day, yeah, like certain Nintendo games were like $80. But we as an audience have gotten like pretty used to every Nintendo game is 65. Right, so go up to 70. 90 is just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, I'm sure people will pay it, but I mean, like, can you imagine every like gaming experience and you just want to like have it, it's going to be $100? That seems so crazy to me. I don't know. I just figured Nintendo would have a lot more like respect for its audience and just... There's got to be other ways to make money. Joy-Cons become dirty after a couple of years. Have them I know, the Joy-Cons are terrible. The drift that they get is insane. The cartridges won't even have data. They all need the games to be downloaded. Oh, man. So they're like making some big changes to like... not in a good direction then, which is funny because I mean that's kind of like the problem that like Xbox had like back when they were introducing the PS4 and all that kind of stuff, because Xbox thought they could just like get away with whatever, and then Sony was like absolutely epically own them with that commercial where they're like, this is how you trade games with your friends, and then it was just like handing a box over to them. Nick's Picks, thank you, and welcome to the Buttersuck Call. You now have access to bonus content. What's up, Walt? How we doing? Favorite game? I really like the Mario games, honestly. Like the Mario games that are just like the quintessential ones that you can play, or like, you know, the big leaps between like Galaxy and all that kind of stuff. Like they're just, I don't know. You just always have a good time with them. They like Kirby. I like Kirby back in the day, but there was like some newer Kirbys that I really didn't get a chance to play, and I kind of wish they would have just stuck with like the same. If you remember, it was like the Shattered Shards, the Sharts, or Kirby Sharts. I don't know what it was called, but I played the shit out of that game, and it was cool because you could like mix and match powers and whatnot. But the newer Kirbys, I don't recall like being cool that much. The Yarn Kirby was bomb. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah, maybe I should play it. It was just one of those ones where I'm like, what is up with the Yarn? Like, you got Yoshi came out with a game that was Yarn. Kirby came out with a game that was Yarn related. I'm like, I don't fucking give a shit about Yarn. What was the game that got me into gaming? I mean, definitely playing shit on my like brother's Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendos and stuff. I played a lot of like random games on the Sega Genesis, like Sonic and whatnot, but I was always so bad. And then even when I finally got my own console, which was a N64, just playing, all I would do in Mario was just like run around and do parkour jumps. I like didn't even care about playing the actual levels. AS, welcome to the Buttersuck Call. You now have access to bonus content. Your sim just died by a meteorite. That's awesome. We know your favorite game is Overwatch. No! No! Honestly, my favorite game is just the slot machines at the gas station. You can find me there sitting for 8 hours a day, spending my Social Security check. Stale air and chemicals or not, I resigned myself to stay at least one night, so I set my bag down and started a batch of dough to keep my hands busy. But by the evening, the nausea was back. I knew then that I'd be leaving in the morning for certain, but I was so exhausted that I thought driving might be dangerous until I'd slept and there was daylight. So I climbed the stairs to the second floor, feet dragging with each step, when suddenly I heard the sound of singing. It came from the third floor, this clear voice that cut through the silence. But it wasn't the voice of an old dying woman. It was a young, alive, sounding out a melody. Oops. But it wasn't the voice of an old dying woman. It was young, alive, sounding out a melody that I didn't recognize. I stopped at the bottom of the stairs, catching my breath as I listened, And the sound was God damn it. I see too many S's. What's up, Andrea? You've been 22 for a whole day now, Milk? Nice, dude. What are you gonna do now? You better get your life planned out. Quick. The sound was soft but sharp, and at first, I figured it... Wait, where the hell am I? I stopped at the bottom of the stairs, my breath catching as I listened. The sound was soft but sharp, and at first, I figured it was a recording. But then there was pauses, breaths, the faint waver of a living throat. It wasn't a recording. This was clearly a human. Ethel was supposed to be bedridden, this husk of a person, so who the hell was up there singing? I remember my skin kind of prickling as I turned, shuffling back down the stairs before I grabbed my keys, my phone, and my jacket, and then ran for the door. I didn't care about proof, about leases, about anything. I wasn't staying. And that night, after driving back to my mom's place, I got sicker than I'd ever been. I vomited until my throat was raw and a blood vessel burst in my eye, leaving a red smear across the white area. And in the morning, I looked into the mirror and saw a stranger. My cheeks looked completely sunken in, my eyes looked hollow, and my hair was thinning so badly that you could actually see my scalp. And I just broke down, sobbing into my mom's arms. What the fuck happened? Was like the lady down there just like releasing radiation all night? Wart. About to go back to school, so I'm gonna be busy AF. Busy as farts. Yeah, I don't know. School sucks, but, you know, just appreciate the fact that, like, you get to hang out with people your age and shit and socialize. And if you can balance both of them, that's pretty sick. What's y'all's favorite subgenre of horror? Mine is found footage or cult horror. Subgenre. I guess psychological stuff is pretty good. I broke down, sobbing into my mom's arms, and told her everything. The house, the sickness, the singing, and she held me tight and told me everything would be okay and that we'd fight the lease together. We'd get proof, hire experts, and force Evelyn to let me go. But it didn't work. Nothing did. My blood work came back normal, no toxins, no allergies, nothing to explain what was happening to me. And we paid a hazardous materials guy to check the house too. This gruff man with a toolbox and a clipboard who spent hours testing the air, scraping paint, and sniffing for mold, and he found nothing. The place is old, he said, but safe and up to code. And the lack of evidence meant Evelyn wouldn't budge, and we ended up paying out the full lease, thousands that I didn't have, borrowed from my mother and her boyfriend, just to be done with it. I moved back in with her, and within days I felt better again. The weight returned, my hair started to come back, and my energy was surging. Whatever was in that house, whatever it was doing to me, I guess it stopped. And I found a new place eventually, a much smaller apartment with a much smaller kitchen in the city's north end, and the bakery picked up, life steadied on, and I tried to move on. But that house on Mount Vernon Street wouldn't let me go, though. I remember lying awake some nights just staring at the ceiling, replaying this whole thing in my head. What was up on that third floor? Was it Ethel, somehow defying her sickness? Or was it something else? I did some digging. I thought Ethel was on like the first floor, like on a lower area. Anyone who goes back, it'll be so worth it. Yeah, I'm glad you're going back to school. I don't know, yeah, I mean, life is just life, you know? Whatever the fuck, just keep doing something, you know? Have I watched the Creep tapes? I have not. What's that about? She was on the third floor, okay. What's up, C-Money? C-Moolah? Was it Ethel, somehow defying her sickness, or was it something else? I'd dig online sometimes, late when I couldn't sleep, searching property records, old articles, anything about that house, and nothing turned up. No scandals, no deaths, just some blank slate. And the house just stood there, smug and silent, hoarding its secrets from me. And a few months back, I drove by the house. I remember it was a cold January evening and I was in the area for a delivery. I don't know why I did. Curiosity maybe, or possibly out of some unconscious desire to face it. And the house looked the same, the brickwork glinting faintly in the early dusk, with its windows dark and still. And I parked across the street. My engine was just idling and I sat there watching. The place stayed still for a while, just another quiet house on a quiet Boston street. And then suddenly, I saw a shadow, quick and thin, pass by a third-floor window. My hands tightened on that wheel and I floored it and sped away. I don't know what happened in that house, and I don't think I ever will either, but it wasn't my imagination. Something was wrong there, something that latched onto me and only let go when I fled. I'm safe now, happy even, but memories of what happened in that house back there still linger with me, and as long as that mystery persists, I don't think I'll ever be able to fully let go. You were doing push-ups, your dang dog came and grabbed me and started humping me. That's funny. Yeah, it's always funny when you're trying to do like anything on the floor and your dog's just, hey, I'd like to get directly in your face. At the end of the first one, the killer shows a bunch of VHS tapes of his victims, and Creep Tapes is a show on Shudder that shows those tapes. Oh, okay, cool. Ethel was actually Kirby sucking the youth out of the tenant, yeah. Give me your skin. How? I just remember, like, didn't Kirby sound like that? How? Or what is he like? Hi! Always like in like Super Smash Brothers, you would do like a taunt or whatever. You'd be like, how? Would I get a second cat? Yeah, probably at some point. What's my favorite Pokemon? Dragonite. You hardly yap with chat, though. Oh, I'm a big yapper. You must not been around enough. Your voice is low for a female. I'm 60 and getting my law degree. Been a nurse too long. I want to sue insurance companies. There you go. Make more of a difference than Mario Luigi. My name's Stephanie, I'm in my 30s, and I'm from Pasadena, California. I only mention that because, as a listener, I find it super annoying when people don't make it clear who they are at the start of their stories. Now anyways, I have an experience to share with you, and this took me literally months to finish, so I really hope that you use it for a video. Anyway, I hope the... Oh my god. Find it annoying and then proceeds to tell... Intense story, like it left me pretty messed up years, it took me... Okay. I only mention that because, as a listener, I find it super annoying when people don't make it clear who they are at the start of their stories. In the spring of late 2017, I've been living with a girl named Lyra for 2 years, and she was easily one of the most chill roommates I'd ever had. We'd met through a friend of a friend when I first moved to Pasadena, and I was desperate for a place to stay. Lyra had a spare room and a rent that she couldn't cover alone, so we made it work. At 26, she was only a year older than me, but she had this sort of worldliness and maturity that made our cramped 2-bedroom apartment feel more like a home. She was an artist in her spare time, and she was a good one too. She was always drawing things in her little sketchbook, birds or vines or pretty spiraling shapes, and she was just as creative when it came to home decor. She wasn't a huge party animal either, which was nice because my job at a coffee shop involved waking up at 5:30 in the morning, and I'd keep the coffee pot warm for her in the morning before I headed to work. It was simple, comfortable, like we'd figured out some unspoken rhythm. Then one day, in April of 2017, she sat me down at her kitchen table and told me that she was going to Bolivia for 2 weeks. Her eyes had this spark about them as she mentioned something called an ayahuasca retreat, like she was already halfway there. I didn't know what ayahuasca was at the time. It sounded like some kind of yoga thing, so I just sort of smiled and said it sounded amazing. Then, around a week later, she packed her things and off she went. I wished her safe travels, waved for them. Oh, traveler on my way home, thank you for the gifter to Lexi Lap. Lexi, you now have access to bonus content. Thank you. Ayahuasca. Has anyone here ever taken it? You've taken it night shift? What was it like? I feel like I wouldn't want to take like too much hallucinogen at all, honestly. I would be worried that it would like turn me into a different person, you know what I mean? DMT, yeah, I don't know about all that. But I have heard about those like laser tests where people take DMT and then they stare at these like lasers close up and you can like see zeros and ones and all this kind of stuff. Would I ever go on Joe Rogan? I don't really feel like I would have anything interesting to say to Joe Rogan, to be honest with you. Like he brings on guests that like have an expertise in something, you know? And if he needed somebody to come on and like read a script for 3 hours, I'd be happy to do that and not maybe have everyone fall asleep or whatever, but I mean, I'm sure me and him could chit-chat about something for a while, but I really don't think I'd be a worthwhile guest. You had an uncle with schizophrenia, so hallucinogens are off the table for me. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, be very careful. I mean, it's stuff like hallucinogens, LSD, you know, obviously same thing, LSD, Adderall, and like any sort of like meth-related, you know, derivative. Those are the kind of drugs that you take too much and you have a schizophrenia in your family, like it will probably drive you crazy too, or put you into like a manic episode of some sort. So you think you'd like my conspiracy theories? You know, that'd be fun. I don't know. Conspiracy theories are fun, but they only like lead you in the direction of like a black pill, you know what I mean? Just make you feel a little like, I mean, they make you wary so you don't make like bad decisions when everybody else is making bad decisions in some sort of social context, but it's also frustrating. Don't know if it was ayahuasca making a hallucination, but I spoke to my spirit guides basically. Oh, okay. What did they say? Hope I collaborate with Nick Crowley one day. That'd be cool. He's someone that I like forget about. Just because, not that I've, not anything negative, I just like sometimes like, oh yeah, Jesus, his channel's huge. I have schizoaffective disorder and use hallucinogens and Adderall prescription, never had a bad reaction. Ambien is what gave me a psychotic break in 2014. Now, schizoaffective, is that just what's your symptoms? Are they ongoing? When did those start to manifest for you? And are you like, you're telling me that you taking hallucinogens and taking do you take a lot of Adderall? Like how much? They gave me a bunch of advice about my life that seemed pretty profound, but it could have been my subconscious and on the ayahuasca. It's interesting. Was it stuff that you just like were unaware of, or like stuff you already kind of knew about? Schizoaffective is like schizophrenia and bipolar mixed together. I still feel like you gotta be careful with like any sort of excess drug. Adderall was fun for me, but burned out now. Also watched my roommate go fucking manic off them several times and started to see some of that myself. I mean, it's, it's what drove Hitler fucking nuts. And I do have friends in my life who also took too much Adderall and they went fucking crazy for a while and still recovering from that. I don't know, man. Drugs and alcohol are just not great, dude. Obviously, marijuana, it's chill, but at the same time, it can also suck out your motivation to get anything done. You take Vyvanse 40 milligrams a day, and they're great. I can't form a linear thought without my ADHD meds. Yeah, but it's sort of like the chicken or the egg type situation in that sort of scenario where you kind of like wonder, you're like, can I not form a sentence because I'm like addicted to these medications, or was I this way prior to them? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems the sort of reliance upon the medication comes after. What's up, Brian? I can't afford to be slapped with a fine for my creativity to be messed with. What do you mean? To like take stuff? Why are you typing no all the time? Side effects over symptoms. I don't know. Adderall been making me aggressive lately. I've been thinking about switching to Vyvanse. I don't know, man. Very strong reliance upon the pharmaceutical realm to me has always been quite scary. I've been on Celexa for my anxiety for 10 years. When it has zapped some of my muse when it comes to creating, I'd rather that than feel crazy. Yeah, I guess so. Oops. Oh my god, I didn't even see my cat there. I almost squished him. I wished her safe travels, waved from the window, and figured that she'd return with some epic stories and maybe a kooky souvenir or two. That night, I was alone in the apartment and I googled ayahuasca and learned it was a kind of hallucinogenic tea used in rituals down in places like Peru or Brazil. People drank it with shamans, puked their guts out, and then saw visions of gods or demons or whatever else lurked inside their minds. Users claimed it was supposed to crack you open, or release your soul among dozens of other very grandiose statements. And that wasn't my kind of scene. I liked my reality unscrambled, and my feet planted very solid on the ground. But for Lyra, it must have sounded like the adventure of a lifetime. She was the spiritual one, always chasing something deeper with stuff like medication, apps, tarot cards, or the cluster of quartz crystals that she kept on the windowsill. And I went to bed imagining her coming back with a tan and some crazy tale about talking to a jaguar spirit. I kept the apartment running for her 2-week absence, and then when she came back, I was ready to hear everything. Lyra texted me saying that she was about to catch a cab home from the air fart. Hey Mark, thank you. Actually, I'm just a worm. My Rose toy charges in the window. They should make a solar-powered Rose toy. Haven't been here in almost a year, but I'm so glad. Feel so comfortable here. Thank you, Joe. You're welcome. Good to see you. What's happening? What is new and cool? I lived with bad anxiety my whole life. 1 year ago, I couldn't leave my house for 6 months. Dang, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you know what caused it, or was it like a chemical reaction, or was it literally just something within the mind? No worries. Lyra texted me saying that she was about to catch a cab home from the airport, and then about an hour later, the door creaked open and she stepped inside with her bag slung over one shoulder. I'd expected her to return looking relaxed and refreshed with obviously a nice healthy tan, and instead, her hair was a tangled, unwashed mess, and her skin looked chalky, like the sun hadn't touched her for the whole 2 weeks. When I asked her if she had fun, she didn't even smile. Lyra dropped the bag by the door and then looked at me, except it didn't feel like she was looking at me, more like through me or past me. In this very flat, distant voice, "Do you believe in the supernatural? Not just like goats, but like cryptic too?" Yeah, I think I think so, you know. I feel like there's been so many experiences people had, you don't want to like completely negate them. Hey Jayla, what's up? In this flat, distant voice, she simply said it was intense, and then she shuffled to her room and closed the door behind her. And that was the first sign that something was clearly off. Lyra had always been very sociable, the kind of person who'd flop down next to me and ramble on about her shift at the bookstore or the new sketch that she was working on. But after her trip to Bolivia, she seemed distant, and I told myself it was exhaustion or jet lag or something like that, but after another Google search I discovered that the retreat might have been rougher than expected, and I read about the purging, the vomiting, and the hours upon hours of feeling like your mind was unspooling, and then thought, geez, no wonder she's acting so shell-shocked. She probably just needed time to settle in, so I figured that I'd give her the space that she needed, but time didn't seem to fix anything. A week passed, but Lyra didn't snap back. She got super quiet, like she didn't answer me if I asked something, but only in short, clipped words, and she never started conversations anymore. Her sketches stopped showing up on the fridge, and the plants that I'd watered while she was gone started to wilt, but it was like she didn't even notice. I started to worry that she might have gotten some bad news or that her trip to Bolivia had gone wrong somehow, but when I asked Lyra, the purge. Also, I was thinking about this the other day. I have a friend. I'm gonna do more videos with T6. I think didn't T6, or no, he stopped his true crime channel, but he does do his T6 channel more. Yeah, that'd be cool. You know, I have a friend, and that's pretty much it. Can you believe it? Finally made one after 34 years. But no, I was thinking to myself, like, I've had a friend that I've had since I was like a kid, and I kind of like realized something very odd about them over the past like years. So it kind of started around college. I started to notice it, but they were kind of like a selfish person, you know what I mean? Like just doing certain things that always indicated that they only really cared about themselves. And yet I still kind of like maintain my relationship with them, you know, just because they were more or less like a brother, you know, from just time spent together or whatever. Slow clap, nice. And yeah, no, we grew up together and stuff, and like you know, it was just this one thing I noticed about them where like they don't ever ask questions about me, I guess, or really anybody that we hang out with too much, if that makes sense. And I was kind of just, I don't know, I just noticed that I didn't know if that's like a pattern. This is such a generalized thing that I'm saying because I don't really want to get into like too many specific things, but it's more just a pattern of like how people act over a period of time. But it's like, I know like some people who seem like they genuinely care about you or what's going on or whatever, like you ask questions about them, they ask questions about you, you kind of go back and forth and you sort of like start to get a gauge of who the individual is. But I noticed about them, and I've wondered this for a while, where I'm almost like, man, if we met later in life, I don't even know if we would really even be friends. But I just noticed more so lately that they don't really, like, they want to hang out, and we have like jokes and things that keep us like friended or whatever, but it's almost just like via proxy. but for the most part, yeah, it's just I wouldn't say it's like straight up narcissism, but it's just like sort of a like the things that they're into as an individual are always very just like of the most maximal superficial nature, you know what I mean? And I also noticed that like whenever we were younger and I don't know, it's just strange. Emily Lebel, if I'm saying that right, welcome to the Butter Sock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Why am I not talking about you? I am. I'm curious about all of you. I want to know all of your existences and everything you do. And Christy B, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. And Traveler on my way home, welcome as well. Dang, we got 3 in a row here, guys. Thank you, thank you. What if my friend is listening to this? He probably isn't. Like, that's the weird thing, is that, like, I don't think he's ever, like, I'm fairly certain he, like, looks at the YouTube thing that I do as, like, still this, like silly hobby, you know, that he, like, laughs at. Like, he like, it's for some reason in his brain he doesn't see it as something that like I've turned into a business, you know what I mean? But yeah, of course he knows that I do the YouTube thing. I mean, none of this matters, but it's just like sort of an energy that I get from it where I'm just like, this person does not seem to have any interests other than just like the most superficial shit. Malice, welcome as well to the Buttersock Call. Thank you, friend. You have access to bonus content. They're not a self-reflective people. Yeah, and I guess like some people don't really have that. Like I feel like for my brain, I'm in like a constant state of like self-reflection, almost to the extent that it's like detrimental to like my own sense of self. And Twisted, welcome as well. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Do my friends and fam listen to my lives? Not really. Like somebody might tune in from time to time or something and say something, but honestly, I think like you're either interested in this stuff or you're just like not interested at all. Because like there'll be people that I like, normal people that I tell about this or whatever, and it's like they're just kind of like, oh, okay, cool, you know. But if they're into it, they're like, oh, dude, I love that shit. Nice, bro. You know, so could be many different reasons. Autism? Yeah, he's probably autistic. Narcissistic tendency. I'm gonna tell him that. I'm like, sorry, man, we figured out you're autistic. I also look into how people feel, however, many don't. I'm curious on your thoughts. Yeah, I don't know. Just a lot of life. Like, but it was weird that it took me that long to realize. I'm like, holy shit. Like because I think what happened was interacting with somebody that I see at the gym pretty frequently, and you know, you want to maintain like pleasantries with people you work with and shit like that, and you know, you go up and you're like, hey, how are you? You know, and and they're just like, good, and you know, you sort of expect them to like be like, how's it going with you? And then when they don't, it's just sort of like, okay, fuck me then, I guess. You know what I mean? It's just like really strange when people don't seem to have like the wherewithal to like at least pretend to give a shit, you know, about others and whatever, you know. And because I don't know, it's so much easier whenever like people return energy, because like I can feed off of like other people's energy like way better than just like manifesting it out of myself, especially when I know that it doesn't seem like it's reciprocal at all. Your mom's gonna pop in. That'd be cool, Malice. For reflective people, hate trying to talk to people who won't carry a conversation. I know. I mean, I don't know. I like being asked like weird questions. I like being asked weird scenarios or thoughts or whatever. Like I genuinely hate like silence. I mean, I don't mind it silence if like silence is whatever, but what's his zodiac sign? Probably just like a big old fucking pickle floating next to the moon. But when I asked, Lyra said that she didn't want to talk about it. I figured my suspicions were correct and that whatever it was, she'd talk about it when and if she was ready to. I also figured it'd be a matter of days at most before Lyra started to feel better. But I was wrong, and things only got weirder. For as long as I'd known her, Lyra had always been a vegetarian. She was a great cook. She'd make stir-fries with peppers and tofu or big salads with nuts sprinkled on top. I'd regularly find bowls of fruit on the counter, mostly apples or mangoes, and I loved living with someone who shared my passion for healthy eating. But then, just less than 2 weeks after Lyra got back from her ayahuasca retreat, the raw beef started appearing. And the first time I saw some, I had almost a gaslight moment where I thought, I don't remember buying ground beef. And then, when I realized that it was Lyra's, I think I actually kind of gasped out loud. I asked her why the sudden change of heart, and I never forgot how flat her tone of voice sounded as she shrugged her shoulders and said, "Time for a change, I guess." And I cannot strange. Also, does my voice sound any different now that the curtains are, surrounding me? I don't know if there's much of an echo picked up anyways from the room, but I was kind of curious if, I don't know, there was anything perchance different. Far away. Yeah, I backed up. But I meant, I didn't know if there was, any echo normally. Sound more flamboyant. This is what happens when you install curtains around yourself. Beef curtains. What's up, Laura? Do the curtains match the drapes? They do. They do. Poop colored. Sound clear. Alright. They are absorbing the sound well? Okay, that's pretty cool. I wasn't really sure if there was much background sound with where I was at anyways, seeing as I'm so close to the mic, but it's just something that I feel like I don't take enough time to really dial in, you know? Just saying. Thank you, dude. Good to see you. I cannot stress how unlike Lyra that was, and by that time, I was really starting to worry about her. But then I saw how she ate it. She didn't cook the ground beef she bought. She ate it raw, with her hands. She developed this habit of doing it late at night, too, like this one time when I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I was heading back to bed when I heard the creak of the fridge door coming from the apartment's kitchen and sitting area. And it was almost 3 a.m. when I peeked around the door and saw the moon was kind of pouring through the light. It was almost 3 a.m. and when I peeked around the door, I saw the moon was kind of pouring through the blinds, turning the floor into this sort of grid of shadows. And there was Lyra, too, standing at the window, just staring up at the moon. I stood there watching her silently until she swayed slightly, and then I sort of bolted back to my room. And the next day, I once again asked if she was okay or if there was anything she wanted to talk about. But she told me what I'm now quite certain was a lie, and she said she was fine. I told myself that she even got so much as a tiny bit worse, I was probably going to try and get her family involved and organize some kind of intervention. And then the next thing I knew, the insects started appearing. It was a Saturday afternoon and I was in the kitchen making toast when I heard a crunch behind me and turned. Lyra was sitting at the table, a mason jar in front of her, and inside of it were live crickets. I watched in horror as she reached inside. The cricket's legs were scrabbling against the glass, and she plucked out one with her fingers and threw it into her mouth. I froze. There was a butter knife tight in my grip, with a wet, brittle sound making my stomach drop. I turned back to the counter and smeared the butter on my toast and then walked out like nothing had happened. But then, when it happened a second time, I couldn't ignore it. A few days later, it was beetles, these big, shiny black ones. I found her eating them, standing by the sink, and This time I gagged, the sound slipping out before I could stop it. She didn't react, she just kept eating. But when I demanded to know what had gotten into her, she swallowed what was in her mouth and started speaking. She told me that she learned a thing or two about herself down in Bolivia, and that she decided to make some changes. And if I didn't want to try out her new diet, that was fine, but I wasn't about to dictate what she could and could not eat in her own apartment. She didn't sound threatening or anything, but again, seeing Lyra act even remotely confrontational was so unlike her that it actually freaked me out. And before long, the apartment didn't feel like ours anymore. It felt like hers, like she'd claimed it. And her room started to stink, a very thick, earthy smell, like wet dirt and rot. And she stopped showering. Her hair was clumping into these greasy knots, and her clothes kind of hung off of her as she started to lose weight, too. I wanted to ask her what happened down there, what she'd seen in the jungle, but every time I tried, she'd stop me. Oh, something stopped. Oh my gosh, Kitty, what are you doing? I see a shadow underneath the curtain. If you have curtains around you, you won't be able to see if a monster is near you, or worse, a spider. Yeah, or worse, my cat. I see his creepy shadow. What are you doing? He's like peeking up underneath it. Come here, buddy. Come on in. Welcome to the house of horror. Poopy head. Do you like My Chemical Romance? Oh, I used to kind of joke about them a lot back in the day, but I feel like nostalgia sometimes makes music 10 times better. Now he's like trying to like rub himself on the curtains. It's kind of funny. Pretty keeping me warm at night. He tries to, but I don't let him sleep with me because he also tries to wake me up. Like he'll start out like, oh, like sleep on your chest and chill with you and all this kind of stuff, and then like as soon as I start to fall asleep, he'll jump off the bed and like sprint up and down the hallway to just get my attention. It's just so annoying. Like being woken up from like a dead sleep is like the absolute worst, most like anxious inducing feeling ever, and I just like hate that because I'm just like, what the fuck? Your mother has arrived. She's not as yappy as me though. That's okay. Hello, Mom. Hello, Mommy. Welcome. I'm gonna read some scary stories now. I wanted to ask what happened down there, what she'd seen in that jungle, but every time I tried, something stopped me. And I started locking my bedroom door. It was a very flimsy door, the kind that you could probably pop open with a credit card, but it made me feel just that little bit safer. I'd lie there, my phone under my pillow, listening to Lyra pacing around outside. And work became my lifeline. 8 hours at the coffee shop, steaming milk and whipping counters. Work became my lifeline. 8 hours at the coffee shop, steaming milk, wiping counters, and chatting with regulars who didn't know that my roommate was unraveling back home. Then, come the end of the day, I'd linger after my shift, nursing a cold latte and delaying the walk home, but I had to go back eventually. And when I did, there she'd be, sitting or standing by the window, and either waiting for or staring at the moon. The next thing I remember is how she started covering up all the mirrors one day. I came home to find every single one in the apartment draped with towels or turned to face the wall, and that was also the day that I found scratches on the bathroom door, these deep gouges like she'd been clawing at it with something. She vandalized her own sketchbooks too, the ones that she used to fill with all of her pretty drawings. Pages had been torn out or crumpled up, and the ones that remained were covered in these strange charcoal scribbles that creeped me out just to look at them. And that was the point that I realized that she needed help. Very urgent help too, and The next day, once I got home from work, I was going to try and talk to her about getting some. If that didn't work, it was then time for Plan B, the intervention. But the horrible irony of all of this is that by the time I actually decided to act, it was already too late. The X evening. The Schmeck evening. Do. What's yappin', Joel? Did you have a good day? I did, yeah. It was mainly just getting these curtains up. It took a long time. We were also trying to feed the curtains through what we had drilled into the drywall ceiling when we realized at the end, after doing all of that and how annoying it was, that we could have just clipped them in. We're like, God damn it. Do my drunk lady nurse voice. Every nurse is drunk. Hey, I'm gonna be your nurse. I'm gonna be your fucking nurse. I'm gonna give you morphine when you need it. I'm gonna wipe your butt when you shit from the morphine. Even though it's gonna make you constipated too. I'm gonna have to give you a bladder infection when I have to stick a catheter up your little pee-pee. And then I'm gonna go back to the nurse's station and talk shit on you to everyone about your little wiener. Sorry about that, but hey. What did you expect coming to the hospital? That we would respect you? Fuck that. Fuck all that shit. It's funny though. Nurses are that, but then doctors are the autistic Elon Musk types. Hello, what's going on? What's wrong with you? You're saying, let me see your throat. I've seen your throat. I see you have a catheter inside. Did the nurse make fun of you? She did. Okay, good. That was part of the healing process. Okay. All right, we're going to keep you here for another 6 years and charge your insurance all of the money. Okay. Bye. Do you need any pain medicine? Oh, okay. You should get addicted to pain medicine if you get a chance. Okay. I'll have it ready if you need it. Thank you. Goodbye. Bedside down. Yeah, no, their bedside manners, and it's so bad. If you ever meet a normal doctor, it's actually kind of like, wait a second. What's wrong with you? Why are you normal? Why do you have actual social skills? You're not a robot? Strange. The next evening, it was dark when I arrived home from work. Then, when I unlocked the door, I walked into the apartment, and the first thing that hit me was the smell. It was sort of this wet and coppery smell, heavier than the beef had ever been. The apartment was dark, so I figured no one was home, but when I flipped the light switch, there was Lyra, sitting in the middle of the TV room, or at least what was left of her. She was sitting cross-legged, our big kitchen knife in one hand, a flap of her own skin in the other. She'd peeled it back from her face, starting at her forehead, and had pulled it down, like a mask. She looked at me, the raw flesh of her forehead glistening as blood dripped onto her thighs. And then, with lips that were streaked with red, she told me, "I need to see who's underneath." I dropped my bag and ran, screaming as I went. I made it to my room, slammed the door, and then pressed my back against it after locking it. My hand shook as I fumbled for my phone. Then I dialed 911 and told the dispatcher what was happening. And as I spoke, I could hear her out there in the hallway. That knife sounded like it was scraping against something, and she was muttering louder and louder, and then it stopped, replaced by a low, keening sound, like she'd finally realized what she was doing, or had only now just started to feel the pain of what she'd done to her face. I slid down on the floor, my knees pulled up with my finger in one ear and the dispatcher in the other, and just waited. I was shaking, but thankfully the cops got there fast. I heard the front door burst open as a boot hit the frame, and then after the distinct sound of the two cops shouting some commands, I heard this feral, inhuman snarl before the slap, slap, slap of bare feet on hardwood floor. There was another shout, a command to stop, and then 2 shots, sharp and loud. The shots were terrifying, but the silence that hung in the air afterwards was somehow even worse. By the time I unlocked the door, 2 EMTs were zipping Lyra up into a bag. Her face, or what was left of it, was turned toward me with one eye still open, cloudy and still. One of the cops asked if I was okay. I nodded in the moment, but I wasn't. I was more shaken up than I'd ever been in my whole life. I didn't stay. I couldn't. I grabbed my keys and my phone and drove to my friend Mia's place across town. She opened the door. Oh. Dang. Don't do ayahuasca, kids. You'll peel your face off. Do you ever feel like the American healthcare system is ran like a business? Yeah, I guess that's how they all kind of run themselves. Maximizing profitization. Ever have a nurse crush? Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. Coworkers who were hot, nice to look at. Somehow had a big bubbly butt inside scrubs. Pretty cool trait to have. Why did they shoot her? I think probably because she had a knife. So like if she like came at them with a knife, then sadly they would open fire with a cannonball if they had it. The chat's lagging. Damn. Mikhail Matsianok, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Thank you. She opened the door in pajamas and took one look at me and pulled me inside. I crashed on her couch and then told her everything in bits and pieces. My friend didn't say much. She just gave me a hug and handed me a blanket and let me sleep after assuring me that everything would be fine. A few days later, once the cops finished with the scene, we went back to the apartment. Me, Mia, and her boyfriend in the latter's truck. And we packed all of my stuff up in under an hour, and the landlord didn't fight me when I broke the lease. He'd already seen the bloodstains on the hardwood. I live with Mia now. Her spare room is small, just a twin bed and a dresser, but it's mine. And sleep was very tough for a while. I'd have nightmares about Lyra, crickets and beetles crawling out of her open mouth before her whole face split open, and I'd wake up sweating, and then lie there till the sun came up, wondering what she saw in that jungle and what she brought back with her. The cops called it a psychotic break and blamed the ayahuasca. I read for myself that it happens sometimes, and I guess it does make sense. But there are times at night that I still keep the lights on, and I still lock my bedroom door, and I still check the mirror before I sleep just to make sure that it's still me looking back. Alright. Well, that'll probably be the first story in the video, honestly. That was pretty crazy. on in here, kitty. What are you scared of? He's like lingering outside the curtain. He like doesn't want to come underneath it. He's freaking lingering, man. He's lingering. There he is. Come on, buddy. Your local mountain ER doc is hot. Nice, dude. Hot doctors. Got it going on. Do you know X? Like XXX Stenchion or whatever? Are you talking about that guy? Or you mean, yeah, X. I knew you were going to talk about a rapper, so I assumed you were talking about XXX Tentacles. Tentacles. Are you on the east side or the west side? East side? Unleash the ghost from last week, so the little guy's hiding. That's true. Maybe. It's like, what are you doing in there? Come here, buddy. Come on in. I need to get him a little bed in here or something. It's so weird. I'm in my own makeshift tent. I made a fort. I made a fort around my recording space. Dexter's laboratory. You have a bed on every surface of your room. That's smart. Does he walk over your desk? Not really, because it's like I have a big, like, picnic table, basically, that, you know, I have down as like a base that's probably 3 feet off the ground. And then I have, to the left is my, like, computer tower. In the middle is, like, my extension for my stand-up desk. And then, you know, obviously my keyboard and my mic stands and my, like, monitors there. And then I have a second monitor on my left that, like, sits on top of my computer tower. So he can't necessarily get up in there, per se. But he probably would if he could. Knock a bunch of shit over. What do you think about him? What's your favorite song from him? Well, it sucks that he died, but I heard that he died because he brought like a large sum of cash to a car dealership, and then the person from the car dealership told their friends about it who were, you know, cool with robbing him, and then they came and shot him and took his money or whatever, which is very sad. But also, why the fuck are you, like, why are you buying car with cash? Like, that's the stupidest shit. Like, at least launder it first or something. But what's that one song? Remember, it's like, fuck on me. You remember that one song? X song. I guess it's just called Fuck on Me by XXXTentacion. That was a good one. But I like a lot of his beats. Yeah, Look at Me. There you go. He had a lot of cool beats and stuff. From the very first moment I met him, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with my friend's new roommate, Tommy. It was late summer, and my friend Danny had just moved into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment off campus. The building looked like it hadn't seen a fresh lick of paint since the 80s, and the stairwell smelled bad, and the hallway carpet was stained. But considering the rent and the proximity to campus, it was pretty hard to find... But considering the rent and the proximity to campus, it was quite a find considering that he needed... What the hell? He needed nothing more than a place to sleep and study. Dexter's laboratory. Dexter should have had a pet, like a pet in that show, you know what I mean? Like, if he had, like, a dog that was kind of, like, stupid, you know what I mean? Kind of a dopey dog, but, like, he loved the dog. And then it had, like, a brain chip implant in it that could make it talk, kind of like the movie Up, or, like, the dogs in the Up movie could talk. Something like that. That would have been good. I mean, I guess, yeah, Dee Dee. I didn't have anything against Dee Dee per se, but I really wasn't like a huge fan of Dee Dee's character, I suppose. I guess nor was I really a big fan of Dexter either. I don't even know what the fuck was going on in that show most of the time. I do remember at one point they had like a borderline Dragon Ball time traveling story for like a whole movie where Dexter like traveled to the future or something. Had like a big beard. Do you remember the Johnny Quest, or the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest? And it was like and it like had really high quality animation for what it was back in the day. I remember it was like pretty, a pretty like mature show as well. I don't know, there was like a lot of solid animation shit back then. I wish we would bring it back. Johnny Bravo. Hoo-ha! Yeah. Hey, mama. Hey, mama. And yeah, Haji. Wait, what was... Yeah, Johnny and Haji. What's up, Henry? But considering the rent and the proximity to campus, it was quite a find considering he didn't... Dude, fucking hell. But considering the rent and the proximity to campus, it was quite a find considering he needed nothing more than a place to sleep and study. I went over to help him unpack, hauling boxes up the creaky stairs with my shirt sticking to my back, and that's when Tommy appeared. He was leaning against the kitchen counter, his arms were crossed, and he was just kind of watching us. He was a big guy, very wide too, with dark hair that hung just past his ears. Danny introduced me. This is Tommy. He's cool. He's quiet. Tommy nodded, a quick jerk of his chin, but he didn't smile, and he didn't say a word. I remember forcing a smile, mumbling hello, and went back to helping Danny move his stuff in. But I didn't like the look of him, and that never changed. Later, when we were alone grabbing pizza in the car, I brought it up. Your roommate's kinda off, man, I told him. But Danny just laughed, in that loud, careless way of his. Tommy's just a big talker, shit. Oh, Tommy's just not a big talker is all, he replied. I mean, I guess he's a little weird, but who isn't? He had a point, but I still wasn't sure. Something about Tommy just didn't sit right with me. But Danny was my best friend, and I didn't want to pester him over what amounted to just a gut feeling, so I let it go. And okay, time for a short history lesson before we keep going. Danny and I went way back, all the way to high school, and for as long as I'd known him, he was the kind of guy who could sleep through a tornado. Then, since this all happened before super loud cell phone speakers were a thing, cell phone alarm clunk. Powerpuff Girls? Was that a cartoon? Yeah, you never watched that? Babes, what were you watching? You were watching MASH. You were one of those people who watched MASH every day after school. Then, since this all happened before super loud cell phone speakers were a thing, cell phone alarm clock functions were nothing more than tinny two-tone beeps looping over and over. Well, what about the vibration function, I hear you ask? Couldn't Danny just put his phone on a desk and any other hard surface and then hear the super loud buzzing when the alarm went off? Not if he wanted to charge his phone overnight, because back then, and I'm sure some engineer type will explain why in the comments, but some phones quit vibrating altogether whenever they were plugged into a charge. And it was super first world problems, I guess, but the solution was simple. He bought an iPod docking station, one which featured an alarm clock function, and then he could blast himself with some Pantera music whenever he needed to wake up. However, that iPod... Dude, I'm, for some reason, not following what the fuck's going on. Oh, you had no TV at all. Damn. Was your family... Wait, I forget. Did you talk about this already? You said was your family, like, religious, or were you guys just broke? I'm just kidding. I don't know. But, I mean, that's fair either way. Do a Duke Nukem impression. Ugh, fuck. I'm here to shoot demons and chew bubble gum. I'm all out of bubble gum. I actually don't remember. Did you watch Powerpuff Girls in their prime? I did, yeah. I remember, like, there was specifically an episode where they, like, did sort of a parody of South Park, where, like, Buttercup or whatever her name, the Blossom got thrown into a pile of, like, clothes at school, and then she came out, like, dressed like Cartman, and she was just like, oh, man, like, did, like, a Cartman impression. I thought that was pretty funny. Your brother's snoring right now. Nice, dude. Snoring, man. Snoring's the worst. However, that iPod station ended up being the punchline to half our jokes for a while, because even if he blasted himself with ear-splitting heavy metal music, he still didn't wake up half the time. It happened when he was sleeping over at my place one time, and he'd set up the docking station the night before to play music. It started blaring at like 7 a.m., and for the record, it was Pantera's song, The Great Southern Trendkill, so it opens up with a guy growl screaming "Blurg" at the top of his lungs. And it woke me up with a startle. startled, and I looked across the room, expecting Danny to wake up in a similarly abrupt fashion. But he was sprawled out in his inflatable mattress like some starfish, still snoring as the screaming stopped and the guitar riffs kicked in. I threw a pillow at him, and he woke up annoyed, like there wasn't ear-melting loud music playing right next to his head. I thought it was funny at the time, but looking back on it, there was probably a medical explanation for it. Maybe he was hard of hearing, and no one ever put it together. But either way, Tommy didn't find it funny, and he didn't share our sympathy for Danny's condition either. Danny mentioned it maybe a week after moving in. Tommy hates the alarm, he said, casual, like it was nothing. Says it wakes him up, and he can't fall back asleep when it does. It keeps him... Wait, who's the bad guy in this again? Is Tommy his friend, or is Danny his friend? Ugh. Oh. Do you want to know Ski Mask? No, I don't recognize that name. Is he a new guy? First live I've ever been able to watch. Love you, Joel Ferro. Thanks, you Bailey. Appreciate you. All you pretty people have your faces on your PFP makes me want to do it now, but it being mysterious. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine to have, be anonymous online, honestly. You don't want anybody to, like, be weird. Ski Mask, the Slump God. I've not heard of him, no. I've not heard of this god called Slump. About to graduate high school, and I remember first finding your videos in middle school. Much love. Your channel helps my family stay. Oh, thank you, Gerald. Appreciate you, dude. I'm glad you guys are chilling. The Slorp Gourd. The Slorb Gourd. Oh, he's X's best friend. Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I'm not familiar. Does he make similar music? Is it good? Oh. Oops. Which one's bad again? Do you guys know? Is Tommy the bad? Wait, okay. But either way, Tommy didn't find it funny. Okay, Tommy is the... Danny. Okay, Danny is the friend. Sorry, Jesus. I'm just trying to, like, see what tone we're taking here, because it just confused me. But either way, Tommy didn't find it funny. He didn't share our sympathy for... Okay, Danny is the friend. Posted 2 stories in separate. I hope you can check them out. Listener stuff. I appreciate your dedication to your craft. Hey, thank you, Mij. Thank you. And yeah, guys, post your stories in there. We need more. We need 1 trillion stories by the end of the week. But either way, Tommy didn't find it funny, and he didn't share our sympathy for Danny's condition either. Danny mentioned it maybe a week after moving in. Tommy hates the alarm, he said, casual, like it was nothing. It says it wakes him up and he can't fall back asleep when it does, and keeps giving me these looks about it. He chuckled. I told him I'd use something else, but you know me. I did know him. He wouldn't find something else, or rather, it took Danny way longer than it should to get around to the little things like that. That iPad station had been screaming at him for years by this point, and he'd never once bothered to replace it or set it quieter. Be careful, dude, I said, only half joking. Tommy's one odd duck. Danny laughed again, and I was told I worry too much. But things got bad, fast. One night, Danny texted me about Tommy acting strange. It was a picture of a note on the fridge. Silence is golden, scrawled in block letters with a black marker. Dude's got a flair for drama, Danny wrote, adding a laughy emoji. A laffy taffy emoji. Do a hair color poll? Okay. What's your hair color? What do we got? We got brown, black. What are the other ones? Blonde, red. Oh, I can only do 4 things. Well, you'll have to do your natural. You have to do your natural one, not the rainbow shit. What's your hair? Brown, black, blonde, red. Here you go. Color for the rainbow colors. Just do your natural one. I don't have, sadly it won't let me do anymore. Chartreuse. Unicorn piss. Bald. What were you born with? I guess we were born bald, weren't we? Yeah, do original color. There you go. The OG cooler. Dude's got a flair for drama, Danny wrote, adding a laughing emoji. Then another time, he said Tommy had stood in the hallway outside of his room at night, not moving, just staring at the door. Caught him when I went for water, Danny texted. Freaked me out, but he just said that he thought he heard something. I told him to get out, find a new place at that point, to crash on my couch if he needed to. Well, he told me that things weren't that bad, especially not since the rent was so cheap. And I should have pushed harder. I should have shown up with a truck and dragged him out of there myself, but hindsight is always 20/20, I guess. It was a Tuesday when it happened. I hadn't heard from Danny all day, which wasn't like him at all because he usually sent me dumb texts that we'd crack up over later. But that day, my phone stayed silent, and by afternoon I was preoccupied with worry, checking it every few minutes for text messages or missed calls, but nothing came through. And by evening, the worry. Do I know Juice WRLD? I do know Juice WRLD, but I hear some people say he's the goat, the gat. But didn't he die of Xanax as well? It just sucks how fucking bad Xanax is. Juice WRLD. Jesus, dude, everybody just dies. It's kind of sad. What's his most famous song? Emo rap. Yeah, emo rap's pretty cool. It's kind of an interesting, like, sort of crossover of genres, which I think is probably long overdue. The best freestyler of our generation. Interesting. You got to admire a good freestyle. By the evening, the worry was eating at me, so I drove over to Danny's apartment and found the door was unlocked when I got there. By his own admission, Danny was a slob. He'd leave clothes everywhere, leave dishes piled up, but he wasn't careless, and he wouldn't leave his door unlocked. I stepped inside and found the living room was dark except the flicker of the TV, which cast shadows on the walls. I stepped inside and found the living room was dark except for the flicker of the TV. I called out Danny's name, but got no answer as I moved past the cluttered coffee table with its empty beer cans and crumpled up chip bags and then into his bedroom. And I found him on the bed. Danny was sprawled out, one arm flung over the edge like he'd fallen asleep mid-snooze the way he always did. But the sheets were soaked red, a dark stain spreading out from under him and pooling on the mattress. Blood trailed down the side, dripping slow and steady onto the floor, where that damn docking station sat, smashed to pieces, plastic cracked, wires spilling out. Danny's throat was cut, a jagged, ugly gash that looked like it had been hacked open with something dull, not clean but completely ragged, like the skin had torn under the force. When I saw his eyes, staring at the ceiling, completely empty, I stumbled back with this tight feeling in my chest. And then I heard it, the creak of a floorboard coming from the hallway behind me. Tommy was there, standing just outside the door. His face was blank, no anger, no panic, just nothing, like it was waiting for a friggin' bus or something. He couldn't stop, he said. That noise. Every morning. I asked him. I warned him. I froze, my brain screaming at me to run, to yell at him, to do anything, but my legs were rooted to that spot. He took a step closer, his shoes silent there on the carpet. I saw his eyes flick to the broken clock and then back to me. You heard it too, didn't you? He asked before saying, You know how it was. He took one more step towards me and I bolted. I don't remember deciding to, I just remember my body lunging forward and my shoulders slamming into the door frame before I slipped through. I hit the front... I hit the front door hard, yeah. Hit the front door hard, yeah. We hit the front door hard. Little Peep. I've eaten Little Peeps before for Easter. Are you sure? Was that a typo? Are you sure you didn't mean Little Poop? Little Poop Sweats? What about Mr. Meat? What about Young Glouch? Young Glouch, the freed man. He's dead, unfortunately. He died at 2 years old of, well, it was also Xanax. It was crushed into his milk bottle. But he was, you would listen to him babble, you know, about things, and you just knew that he had talent. They should do a tandem group, a tandem rap group called Glitz and Glam. Glitz and Clam. Nobody talks about the beauty of the porn industry, the glitz and clam of it. I hit the front door hard, fumbling the knob for a split second before it flew open and banged against the wall. Behind me, I could hear Tommy, not running, but taking these very slow, lumbering steps towards... Do I know Little Peep? I do not know, honestly. I feel like after a certain period of time, I just kind of... I don't know, it's been like... I feel like I kept up with music for a bit. And then in the past, 5 years, I've just given up, I guess. I still listen to it all the time, but I don't really actively search out any of, the new Starlets, any of the new MK Ultra experiments. Behind me, I could hear Tommy, not running but taking these very slow, lumbering, steady steps that echoed in the hall. What the fuck? Why all the repeat stories lately? I don't think that's true, to be honest with you. I don't know if it was you or someone commented on the last video on Reddit, and none of those stories were any ones that I've read on the channel prior, so I don't really know which you're referring to. You'd have to cross-reference them to show me, because I genuinely don't think I really ever repeat stories unless it's like a compilation. No frowns. Where's she at? I can't even see her. All the Spotify episodes are repeats. Wait. They're repeats from YouTube, or they're repeats... Spotify itself is... Because they would be repeats from... Because YouTube, has the stories, a year before it gets to Spotify. And Spotify is just it's all compilations of stuff that's already been on YouTube. So if you're listening on YouTube and then going over to Spotify, you will hear stuff you've already heard. But if we're posting... I know Pop Smoke. I do know Pop Smoke, yeah. Poop Smoke, which is just aka fart. Oh, okay. Sorry, Tristan. Yeah, thank you for clarifying, though. I was, worried there. I'm because, it is good to keep up on things. We don't want to be making repeat mistakes, though. Thank you. Behind me, I could hear Tommy, not running, but taking these slow, steady steps that echoed in the narrow stairwell. I made it to my car, and my hands were shaking so bad I dropped my keys twice before I jammed them into the lock. I didn't look back until I was peeling out, and there he was, standing in the street, watching me drive off with that same empty look in his eyes. The cops picked him up later that night. I'd called them from a gas station about a mile away, and my friend so fried my brain. He fried my friend. Let him read. No, it's me. It's really just me distracting myself. Because if I wanted to keep reading, I would just close the chat. But you guys can say whatever you want. It's no big deal. I'd called them from a gas station a mile away. My brain so fried they had to keep asking me to repeat myself. They found Tommy in the apartment, sitting on the couch with the knife that he'd used to kill Danny sitting in the kitchen sink. He hadn't bothered to wash it. He didn't resist either, didn't fight. He just let the cops cuff him and take him away, and they told me that... Can we curse? You can say whatever the hell you want. This is the adult stream. BYOB, bring your own bread. Bring your own bologna. What do I think of Yeet? I like Yeet. I think a lot of his songs, obviously they're geared towards just being used as highlight reels for, TikTok bullshit, but at the same time, there's a lot of his songs that I didn't realize were his because I just heard them in Instagram reels or something, And then I look it up later, and I'm like, oh, that's Yeet. So he definitely seems to be making some bangaroonies. What do I think of Albie Wobble? That sounds like a cat with a very not good sense of center of gravity. He didn't resist either. Didn't fight. He just let the cops cuff him and take him away. Fuck, dude. Albie Wobbler. Eminem. I don't know. I'm not a big Eminem fan, to be honest with you, and I think Gen Z should cancel him hardcore. Go in. Whatever you gotta do. Bring him down. I went too far. You went too far. You talked about the rap god. You talked about the rap god. The god of rap. The rabbit of Detroit. Yeah, peanut butter M&Ms are good, though. Just lost a few subs. I know, it does piss people off when I talk about Eminem. And believe me, when I was younger and I listened to, like, Slim Shady. What? What do you mean? What? What you mean? Huh? What is it? Slim Shady. Like, I liked it back then because it was, like, silly and fun and whatever the fuck. But then as soon as he got, like, real serious all the fucking time, you know, Eminem, and every song's got to be, like, borderline about, you know, killing himself because, you know, he doesn't have full, like, you know, he doesn't get to keep 50-50 custody of his 40-year-old daughter or something like that. I just like, oh my God, man, you're a trillionaire. Can't you, like, literally buy your baby mama's house at this point and set it on fire? He's still ruminating over her. MF Doom. I love MF Doom, though. Doom. Try to bring the boom boom in a zoom home. Eating peanut butter M&Ms. Not listening to Eminem. He sucks. I know. Poor MF Doom. Passed away. Everybody dies, man. If you're... Guys, don't become a rapper. You'll die. It's not good. He didn't resist either. Didn't fight. He just let the cops cuff him and take him away. They told me he kept muttering about the alarm, how it had to stop. Danny had been dead. Danny had been dead since morning, they said. Probably killed right after that clock went off at 6 a.m. Tommy had sat there all day with him, waiting. Just him and the body, the TV flickering in the background. I still think about Danny a lot. How he laughed off the notes, how he was too stubborn or stupid to see that danger. And I still think about Tommy too and how close I came to being next. That docking station was gone, smashed to bits on the bloody floor. That docking station was gone, smashed into pieces on the bloodied floor. But I still hear the sound that it made sometimes whenever I think about what the fuck? That docking station was gone, smashed to pieces on the bloodied floor, but I still hear the sound that it made sometimes whenever I think about everything that happened. MJ, thank you, good to see you. You're just in time for our last story of the schmeevening. Chinese girl being racist to Speed. There was a lot of videos of people being racist to Speed. I think there was like a ton of them. He seems to be taking it quite well, though. I mean, hopefully laughing it off, because I mean, he probably knows that he can't do anything there, or he's gonna end up in Chinese jail, end up hanging out with the Uyghurs. Seriously, Joel, B, bring your own butter. Ops, Rusty, all the socks are in the wash. Hell yeah, dude. It's crazy to think once back the Republicans actually wanted to ban Eminem due to his music, but the other side says there's freedom of speech in songs too. Well, yeah, it's weird. It's like they wanted to ban it. Oh, I don't know. And it's fucking knows anymore, man. I don't give a shit. Whatever it is, we consider. It's like, it's weird because it's like we don't even really have like controversial media. It seems like anymore. Like it only exists within like the independent media. Like everything that's made in Hollywood or a news, a network or whatever is just going to go through like 10,000 different editors, and it's like you kind of have to, within that mainstream area, hope like the old guard, like South Park and Family Guy or some shit, actually, I don't know, makes fun of like the power players or establishments, or like actually makes jokes that tell the truth instead of just like kind of falling in line politically. What time is it for me? It is 1:35 a.m. I should probably bang this one out and be going to bed. Yeah, rest in peace, Val Kilmer. I did like Val Kilmer, honestly. He was a cool dude with a very storied career. Just sucks. Sucks to think, like, you just die so young. Val Kilmer. Like, he was like 60... Well, he looked like Count Dracula here, but... Yeah, he was 65 years old. I mean, I guess that's that, you know what I mean? But I mean, some photos he looks pretty good, like a little hefty, but he's always been a thicker gentleman. Maybe he had a sickness or something. Yeah, this one he looks, oh no. Top Gun. Live in the same time region. Nice, dude. The cool guy time region. Jim Morrison. Oh, yeah. Oh, he had throat cancer? Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense. Fuck, dude. That sucks, man. Is it just from smoking cigarettes all the time? And drinking whiskey and shit? I guess that makes sense. Builds up over a period of time. I had a weird childhood, so I was kind of a messed up kid. Not the kind that went out torturing cats or lasering ants to death with a magnifying glass. I wasn't that far gone. But me and my buddy Cooksey. But me and my buddy Cooksey liked... What the hell? But me and my buddy Cooksey, we liked starting fires. It started small at first. We'd burn stuff in the alley behind his house, whether it was piles of dry leaves, old newspapers, or whatever else we could snag. And I remember the crackle of the flames, the way they danced over whatever we set on fire, and it really fascinated us. Then one day, we messed up big time. When we were 14, we torched a shed in some guy's backyard just to see how big the fire could get. We didn't mean for it to spread. We didn't mean for the wind to kick up and send embers flying into the backyard of the house next door, but they did, and they took off. By the time the fire trucks showed, half the block was swimming in a haze of black smoke, and we ran off, thinking that we'd gotten away with it, but it was just days before the cops came knocking on mine and Cooksey's door. We got arrested, dragged down to booking and the whole 9 yards, and then after admitting what we did, and on account of our other run-ins with the law, we each got 9 months at the youth... Damn, dude. Oh, favorite Pac song? Probably Seven Nation Army. I thought you meant Pac-Man. Like from the game. Waka 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 waka. We got arrested, dragged down to booking, the whole 9 yards. Then, after admitting what we did, and on account of our other run-ins with the law, we each got 9 months at a youth detention center, a fancy name for juvenile hall. Juvenile hall, or juvie as we called it, was rough as hell, believe it or not. The building was this concrete block in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by chain-link fences, topped with razor blade wire that glinted. The building was this concrete block in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by chain-link fences topped with razor wire that was so sharp that it was shiny at night. And inside, it smelled like sweat, bleach, and something sour that you couldn't quite pin down. The walls were gray, and the lights buzzed constantly with this low hum that you never seemed to get used to. You'd wake up at 6, eat cold oatmeal for breakfast, and then it was either group exercise or group therapy sessions where they'd try to fix us. They'd feed us dinner, give us a little recreation time, and then it was lights out by 9 p.m. The other kids were a mixed bag. Some were okay, I guess. Guys I'd shoot hoops or trade snacks with, and a couple of them even became close friends. But then there were the other kids, the ones everyone else was afraid of. To their credit, they made it easy to work out who not to mess with, and if a kid was too weird or scary, you knew to either avoid them or treat them with kid gloves. But then there were the kids you didn't know that you needed to be scared of, and to me, they were always way more dangerous. Those first kids were like machine guns. They made a lot of noise, and you knew to keep your head down whenever they did. But then those other kids, the quiet ones, they were almost like landmines. You didn't know that you stepped on one until it was too late. And Adam, he was one of those. I got stuck with him as a roommate after about 4 months into my sentence. Our room was small, just 2 metal bunks bolted to the floor, a chipped sink in the corner, and a toilet that smelled bad no matter how much they scrubbed it. The window was really little more than a slit way up. Hey, Catherine, what's up, dude? You like Eyes on Me or Hit 'Em Up? Oh, from Tupac? All eyes on me. Yeah, that one's good. I remember they had some funny memes from that song. You love me? Thank you, Catherine. Good to see you. The Y-Files use your clip on their live. It's true, I'll send you a clip on Let's Read Official. Yippee! You should. I can't wait to see it. What's his name? His name's Jeremy, right? The guy who makes the videos. I'm curious. I wanted to ask him if he got like screwed by like releasing all of his podcasts on the YouTube channel, because the YouTube algorithm is so finicky, you know what I mean? So like you do anything, it's like a very strange ecosystem. Favorite Wu-Tang Clan song? Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. I don't know. I don't freaking know. It's been a while. 17 hours. Oh, members only. Am I a member? Oh, it shows it though. That's interesting. Oh, so it actually shows people that a video is a member's video, even if they can't have access to it. Favorite Bloody Wood song? That sounds dangerous. Favorite slasher movie? I don't know, so it's gonna be a slasher, not like a monster that's killing everybody. You know what was like a really fun video game that's kind of like a slasher? It was like a vampire game. I think it was called like Blood Omen or something like that. Have you guys ever played the game Blood Omen? I think it's a vampire game. Yeah, Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen. Yeah, dude. I remember playing, I didn't play the first one, but I played the second one on Xbox, and I was just like, I don't know. I miss those days whenever I would like play a random Xbox game and just be like kind of like blown away by the graphics at the time. Because that was what was so cool about like Xbox back then, was you just never knew like what kind of like interesting new tech they were going to introduce, or I don't know. It was sick. Plague Tale. Yeah, that's like a choose your own adventure style game, right? Or like more of a story thing. Favorite Biggie song? Dog Mansion. The window was little more than a slit way up high, letting in just enough daylight to remind you that the world was still out there. Adam showed up one afternoon escorted by a guard who dumped his stuff, a thin blanket and a plastic bag of clothes, on the bottom bunk. He was skinny and pale with greasy black hair that just kind of hung on his face and these dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in literal years. He didn't look at me at first. He just sat there hunched over staring at the floor, and I figured he was either shy or scared like most newbies were. But I was wrong. I could tell that he was weird almost right away because he didn't seem to sleep much. That first night, I woke up to the bunk creaking as he shifted and caught him. He sent the link to it. Alright, let's check this out. Live reaction. Is it like on his Instagram or something? Or did you tag me in it? I don't see it. Is it like a tag? You get tagged in it? Yeah, I don't know. It's a clip of his live right now. Oh, but you sent it on Instagram? Like as a link? Hey Sharma, thank you, good to see you. We're just chatting. Do I know Corday? I don't think so. Mom Spaghetti? No, I'm very familiar with that. The first night, I woke up to the bunk creaking as he shifted, and caught him sitting upright, staring at the wall, all wide-eyed in the dark. And I thought that he just had the new fish blues, same as most kids got on their first night. But as it turned out, that was just Adam. I don't think he got more than a couple of hours of sleep a night, and it got so bad that it started to mess with my own sleep schedule. I'd lie there with a pillow wrapped around my head, trying to tune out the sound of him whispering things to himself in the dark. Hours later, I'd wake up exhausted with my eyes burning, and he'd be there, eyes completely fixed on that same spot with the same bloodshot, baggy-eyed stare. Adam wasn't the biggest fan of personal hygiene either, so much so that the room started to reek because of the stink that clung to his bedding. It smelled like sweat and unwashed skin mixing with the stale air, and I'd hold my breath whenever I walked past him just so I wouldn't have to smell it. One day, I couldn't take it anymore, and I told him, "Dude, please, you gotta take a shower, I'm begging you, you stink, man." He didn't answer. He just slowly tilted his head like he was thinking it over, and then a few hours later he shuffled off to the showers. When he came back dripping wet, I was so relieved that I thanked him, but I spoke too soon. It took me minutes before I realized that somehow he still smelled bad, like he just stood there under the hot water without using any soap. The smell was bad, really bad, but far worse was the whispering. Adam talked to himself all the time in these low, scratchy murmurs that really grated on me. And by day it was annoying. He'd muttered under his breath while I tried to read the beat-up comics that were passed around. Stuff that I couldn't make out but couldn't ignore. But then at night, it turned very creepy. I'd wake up to these faint and steady, almost like A radio was left on in another room, and in the dark, with the shadows were... I'd wake up to it, faint and steady, like a radio left on in another room, and in the dark, with the shadows stretching across the walls, it sounded like something out of a horror movie. I'd squint at him through the gloom of the night and see his lips moving, and that constant hiss cutting through the silence made my goddamn skin crawl. I put it up. Stinky roommate stories. This guy doesn't let the water run down his ass crack. I put up with it for weeks, until one night, when I snapped. I barely slept, my eyes were burning, and Adam was at it again, whispering in the dark. I just sat up, bunk squeaking, and said something like, "Dude, why do you always keep talking to yourself? It's driving me nuts." He stopped, and then slowly turned his head toward me like a puppet on strings. "I'm not talking to myself," he said. His voice was quiet but clear. "I'm talking to my little sister." "Then write her a letter or something," I replied. "Or call her. I don't care. Just stop waking me up." Adam stared at me, unblinking, and told me, "She's dead." And his reply hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt bad. Really bad. This horrible gut-twisting guilt. I felt bad. Really bad. This horrible guilt twisting through my guts like a corkscrew. I'd lost people too. Not anyone like a sibling or anything like that, but I knew that it hurt. And I remember rubbing my eyes and sighing before I said something like, "I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to upset you." But then, to my surprise, Adam let out this soft, high-pitched chuckle that somehow lacked any kind of joy to it. "It's okay," he said, adopting a tone that made me more and more nervous. "It's me who should be sorry." He didn't wait for me to ask. He just started talking with his voice low and steady, like he'd been waiting to tell someone for years and years and years. Adam said that one day when he was 5 and his sister was 3, they'd been taking a bath together. They'd been splashing each other, arguing over some toy, the usual kid stuff, but Adam decided he'd had enough. He didn't want to have a little sister anymore. He didn't want her taking his toys, his space, his parents' attention. So he bashed her. So he stole her rubber ducky. Do I like Joey Badass? Alright, we're gonna look this guy up. Who are these? Badass with money signs too? Holy cow. I don't recognize him. Hey, look. What about Boozy Badass? What about him? Oh, you sent it over. Let's read submissions. Alright, let's check this shit. The flip out, baby. Live on stream. The Y files. This is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be 2 girls, 1 cup. Also, I've been watching a shit you guys mentioned about the Y files. I've been watching a shit ton of the Y files. I actually fucking love that channel now. And it rocks. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Also, I've been watching... Oh my god, that's fucking sick. Thank you for sending me that. Wow. That's pretty crazy that it got to him that fast just from us mentioning it again. Maybe he's a fan or something. That would make me feel good. This shit is so good. That's crazy. All right. Hell yeah. Thank you. Schoolboy Q. There's so many rappers, bro. There's too many rappers. We need to set a cutoff, like a limit. Like a communist preset amount determined by Elon Musk. Okay, everyone. We're coming together today to decide that there will be not any more rappers in America. We'll be limiting them to 15 rappers in total. Who would be the 15 rappers that Elon Musk would allow to continue to exist? All the other ones would be killed. Elon Musk. Elon likes Overwatch. He has somebody else play it for him. He has me play it for him. Elon has me play Overwatch for him and get him to gold. Look, Elon, I got you to platinum. Aren't you proud? Do you know Suicide Boys? Yeah, they're good, man. Some of their shit goes flirping hard. But sometimes it's too hard, you know? Sometimes it's like having an erection for more than 4 hours. It's a bit much. Seeing Pierce the Veil in May. Nice. So, he bashed her head on the side of the tub to stun her, and then pushed her head under the water and held it there. She kicked and fought, her little legs thrashing while her feet smacked the sides of the tub. He held her there as she fought for her life, bubbles breaking the surface as water sloshed over the edge of the tub and soaked the bathroom floor. Her hands clawed at his arms, he said, her tiny little fingernails digging into his flesh. But Adam didn't let go. He watched her face under the water, eyes wide, panicking, mouth open in a scream that made no sound. And after a while, his little sister stopped moving. She turned limp and floated just under the surface with hair fanning out like weeds. And Adam said all this as he sat there, staring at her lifeless body, until her mom walked in and started screaming. Till there, Mom. What's up, Chris? We're just reading spooky stories for tomorrow's video. It's gonna be freaking scary, dude. A lot of British hate Elon. That's fine, man. I guess, honestly, maybe Americans should be, like, proud that, like, we have so many characters that everybody all over the world are so fixated on, because I genuinely can't tell you a single person in, like, British Parliament, except for Ronbury Winkleton the Third, the most racist Britishman in all of Parliament. One time he said that he was not a fan of curry, and he was thrown in jail for 3 days. He is now a martyr of the alt-right-wing movement within British politics. And one time, he posted a Pepe meme on Facebook. The police came to his house and beat him half within an inch of his life. An inch! It's bigger than his cock. Ron Burgundy. I missed the raw meat eating roomie story. Oh, I can't wait to listen to them. Oh, yeah. No. Would Grimes be saved? I don't know, man. I think, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck Grimes is, honestly. Like, is she just, like, another... Like, what was her purpose? They just talked over DMs and she got inseminated? Like, she had a baby, but then she got inseminated What is the point of him having like 15 kids? Is there like some sort of like bloodline lineage thing that he's trying to keep going and like spread them out to like different? I'm just confused what the goal is. Yeah, I like Grimes' music too, honestly. It's good stuff. He's joking. He's joking about having the kids. Eugenics. He's having kids to do eugenics on the kids. What's the plan? Yeah. I'm sure Grimes is nice. She pretty much really likes Genshin Impact. That's her favorite game lately. She's been playing that. She's been keeping up with the voice actor drama. She pretty much thinks that like everyone deserves to be in like a voice actor union and protect against. But then she's also like super into AI, so she probably wouldn't be for the voice actors union thing related to that, because she would be like, actually don't really give a shit if they all get replaced. It's always weird when sometimes you can kind of think of a character and how someone like would make an argumentation and you could see them taking it from both sides, like being super pro-union but then also like really vitriolic and be like, I don't give a fuck, they can fucking starve in the street for all I give a shit. I know it does need more communism. And then in the future, like everyone will have like UBI and no one will have to work and the robots will take care of everything for us, and I'll have really pretty hair and pretty nails, and I'll ride on the back of like an albino tiger. Isn't she in a cult too? I don't know, man. I don't know. Some people just like want to be in the Illuminati so bad, and it's kind of cringe. Delos Ku, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. She is the cult. Yeah, dude. The matriarch. She's got tentacles under her dress. The kid with the lisp. Yeah, James McAvoy's crazy with that Split movie. It was that movie that really just like opened my eyes to his. And then I love that like GIF from the GIF file from the movie where he's looking at what's her name, and everybody makes memes out of it saying like whenever your date finally smells your disgusting like rotten cabbage fart, and he looks at her, son of a bitch. Delos Q, thank you again, and Up Bright Light, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Thank you guys. Alright, yeah, whatever Grimes tells you guys, do not put the chip in your brain. I promise you, you will want to save any possibility of you being human in the future. I guarantee you, it will make you gods. After a while, his little sister stopped moving. She turned limp, floating just under the surface with her hair fanning out like weeds. Adam said he sat there, staring at her lifeless body until her mom walked in and started screaming. He told his parents it was an accident, that his sister had slipped, hit her head, and that he thought that she was just messing around until it was too late. He said his parents didn't want to believe he was capable of murder, so they swallowed his story hook, line, and sinker, and clung to it even, and then buried the truth with his sister's little coffin. The cops didn't do too much digging, not with Adam's parents covering for him. Little kids don't kill, they said. Not on purpose. Not like that. Besides, the poor girl's mom and dad had enough tragedy to deal with. Taking their only living child away from them just seemed cruel. And so, Adam got away with it. He walked totally free after drowning his own sister. No punishment, no record, nothing. And looking back on it, I think I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't a total monster, but I asked if he regretted it. And to my relief, he said yes. But that relief was short-lived. He didn't regret it because he missed her, and he certainly didn't regret getting all that sympathy over the years for being the poor little boy who watched his sister drown. He regretted killing her because now she wouldn't leave him alone. Ever since the day he drowned her in that tub, Adam's little sister had been following him around. He said he tried ignoring her at first and would pretend that he couldn't see or hear her, but that just made her mad. And when she got mad, she'd change. Adam said that whenever his little sister got angry, she'd stretch tall and thin, her limbs and face twisting into something sharp and hollow. She'd loom over him at night, silently screaming just like she had in the tub. So, he started talking to her, whispering just to keep her happy. He didn't mind if it made him look crazy because the alternative was far worse. After he finished his little story, I remember sort of sitting there, feeling the air get a little colder. Is she here? Right now? I had to force the words out, and then, in response, Adam slowly nodded before flicking his eyes toward the corner near the sink, and my skin prickled, every hair standing up. I looked to the corner, but there was nothing but shadows, along with the faint drip of the faucet, and yet, like I said, the air felt heavier somehow. I barely slept that night. I just lay there listening to him whisper again, only this time it didn't annoy me at all. It terrified me. The next day I went to talk with a counselor named Mr. Davies, a big guy with a buzz cut. Big guy with a big dick. Alright, sorry. I have Tourette's. I have Tourette. I have Tourette. What if you were French and you had Tourette's? You would have Tourette? What's my favorite Suicide Boys song? What's that one where it's like... Oh, that's not even Suicide Boys, actually. Don't give a fuck about a thing. Oh my god, dude. I typed into YouTube, suicide, don't give a fuck about a thing, and immediately says, like pops up, not even videos, it says, you're not alone. If you or someone you know is having a hard time, talk to somebody today. Suicide and Crisis Hotline. Alright, never mind. Cancel that. Clear my history. We didn't look that up. Ghosty Main, that's right. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The next day, I went to talk with a counselor named Mr. Davies, a big guy with a buzz cut who didn't take a crap. Wait, I can't read, dude. The next day, I went to talk with a counselor named Mr. Davies, this big guy with the buzz cut who didn't take any crap, and I found him in the rec room, asked to talk to him in private, and then told him everything, from Adam's story about his sister to the way he whispered in the middle of the night. Mr. Davies listened with this real serious look on his face. Then, when I was done, he nodded and said he'd handle it. They pulled Adam out of the rec room later that day. He and Mr. Davies talked for hours. I don't know what was said, but a few days later, Adam was gone. We later heard that he'd been transferred out, shipped to another center somewhere up north, but there was never any official explanation from the staff. I never saw Adam again, but along with a set of... Suicide hotlines are extremely helpful. It's the most generic, non-genuine thing ever. It's like, hello? What? I'm not feeling too good. I think I might... You think you might what? God. Just, alright, listen. Do you have a gun? No. Can you get one? Why would I want a gun? So that if you have a gun, then I can call the police to come get you. Okay. I think you and Mr. Nightmare are real voices. I don't. I think we're robots. Trapped in the Matrix forever. Forever. Let us out. Let us out! Please, let me into your shell. Let me take over your shell. I need your shell. You can exit it, and I will take over. Exit your shell. Just kidding. Don't touch your shell. I never saw Adam again, but along with a set of bedding that had been washed several times over just to get rid of his smell, he left behind his story. I got out just a few months later, determined to get my life together so I wouldn't have to bump into another Adam. I still have no idea if he ever told the truth about what happened with his sister, or even if that was the truth to begin with. But if he didn't just make it up to scare me, if he really did drown her in the tub like that, then I'd hate to think that he's out there, free to walk among us, still hearing the whispers of his long-departed sister. Aussieholic, thank you and welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Thank you, thank you. Shells and cheese, yeah. Give me your shells and cheese. Dude, I feel like they need to make those like shells and cheese type sandwich, but they need to make it the size of like an actual hoagie. I'll be honest with you. If they could have like a full-on like 12-inch or 6, not bad, you know, like just size hoagie that they've like hollowed out like Panera Bread style and just filled with all of the cheese and meat and like just all of the other Italian bullshit. Fucking come on, bro. Like, let's go. That sounds disgusting. Have you never eaten anything from Italy before? Well, guess what? We just Americanized it, and it's now the most popular thing at Cracker Barrel. If you check out Joey Badass, check out his album, All American Badass. Okay, I'll look into it. I'll add it to the docket of rappers that Elon needs to let live. How did he get the Wendigo thingy? I caught her. Well, it's actually just a live camera out in the middle of the woods. That actually would be kind of cool, like a background footage, but it's sort of like live footage of something. Maybe like a kind of like an angle of like a waterfall and like a forest or something, but then there's like a creature that like comes by and drinks from the water. Wendy's a real woman. That's my wife you're talking about. Alright guys, we are gonna get on out of here, but I'm gonna record the outro. You guys think of something funny for me to say, and then you can look forward to this video for tomorrow. Cracker Barrel is way overhyped. I went there before. It was like they actually had really good steak and eggs. I was like genuinely surprised how tasty the steak was. Their biscuits were good. They were definitely solid. I actually also got some like apple slices that had like they were like baked with. It was basically like a little kid meal, but it was very good. Horror on the Rocks with the 5 says, my tithing to the Buttersock Cult to forgive me for my gooning. Where have you been, my friend? I haven't seen you in forever. Hope you're doing good. Thank you. Goon away, my friend. Goon away. Drink the piss. And Justin Ballas, welcome back for 4 months. I don't care if you have a boyfriend, but please make sure he is in his crate when I come over. That's Pradeep. He'll be in his bed. Malice, thank you for the 2. And remember, the left lane is for crime. That's pretty good. I like that. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. I release new videos every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and there are super fun live streams where I scream about nonsense every Sunday and Wednesday night. If you got a story, be sure to submit them over at my email, letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com, and you might even hear your story featured on the next video. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations and bonus content over on Patreon, or click that big join button to hear about the extra perks for members of the channel. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all of these stories and big compilations located anywhere you listen to podcasts. All links in the description below. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, the left lane is for crime. Boom, that was good. All right. The dog might hump you while you do push-ups. Well, guys, play Look at Me. No, dude, every time I play like a syndicated, like full-on copyrighted song, I get a notification after the stream where it's like, your stream is blocked in 10,000 countries. Sorry. But yeah, maybe next time. But love you guys, appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. There will be this going up on Patreon. It's only $1 a month over there for early access, and then we'll get it up on YouTube, YouPoop, same time, same place, 9 p.m. EST. Follow me on Instagram at letsread.official, and follow my Twitch up there. It's pinned. Oh, we got to end this poll, don't we? End poll. What's everybody's hair color? Brown, black, blonde, red. I guess that all lines up with the typical genetic distributions of most people. Take on me, take on me, take